Wildfire Complex. I'm here with Landon Shephard.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just so we can hear it and everybody gets the names and everything.
Yeah. So my name is James Eastham. I'm the Incident Information Officer for the Jasper Wildfire Complex. I'm here today with Landon Shephard, the Deputy Incident Commander for Parks Canada, and Christine Nadon, who is the Incident Commander for the municipality of Jasper. I'm going to let them say and spell their own names when they introduce themselves. Christine is going to start with a statement. Landon will have a small operational update about what the fire is doing, and then we'll open the floor to questions. If we can just go one at a time, I'm happy to moderate that. But yeah, so Christine, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Step right into the mics.
My name is Christine Nadon, CHRISTINE NADON, and I am the Incident Commander for the municipality of Jasper. Good afternoon. My name is Christine Nadon. I am the Incident Commander for the municipality of Jasper on the Jasper Complex wildfire. Mayor Ireland is unable to join us today and sends his regrets. As you can understand, he is taking some much needed time to be with his family. We understand that residents and business owners have been anxiously waiting to receive more information on the state of their homes and businesses. We are doing everything we can to assess damages to structures as quickly as possible. Our priority is ensuring that the information provided is accurate. Today, we are releasing a map and a list of damaged and destroyed residences and businesses. It's important to note that this information is still preliminary and is subject to change. We realize that some residents may have preferred to receive this information privately. Unfortunately, in order to release this information quickly and efficiently, it will be made public for all to see this afternoon. The information we are releasing today is based on the damage that is visible from the street. We have not been inside buildings or seen the backside of properties. There may be additional damage to homes and businesses that isn't visible from the street. Building marked as not damaged on the map could have internal damage caused by smoke and water. At this time, it is not possible for residents to return to Jasper, to view their property or collect their belongings. The town site is not safe. We are still very early in our recovery process. The chemicals released by structural fire are a serious risk to health. There is still an active wildfire on the perimeter of town. Firefighters and first responders need space to do their job safely. This remains an evolving emergency situation. We recognize that this is a traumatic and stressful time for Jasper residents. Many of you will have your worst fears officially confirmed today. You do not have to go through this alone. Support is available, and we encourage you to reach out for help. It's hard to believe that it's only been 2 days since the fire entered the town of Jasper. As residents, we are still coming to terms with what has happened. We will all need time to grieve our losses. But remember that we are a strong community, and Jasper will recover from this wildfire. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your neighbors, and support each other. We have a long road ahead, but we will get through this together.
Afternoon, Landon Shephard, Deputy Commander for the Wildland Fire with Parks Canada. Landon, like London with an A, and Shepherd, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D. So quick update on the wildfire. So at this time, it is still out of control. It was great to get 12 millimeters of rain over a good day and a half. That certainly helped us to get directly onto the fire line, especially in a lot of critical areas. It helped us to sustain the protections that we'd put in place around critical infrastructure and other infrastructure, and it's allowed us to get in and do some more aggressive tactics to make sure that the community stays safe. Because this fire is still considered out of control, There's still a lot of measures that we need to take to be able to ensure the security and safety of the community, as well as other critical infrastructure. Jasper National Park has nationally significant critical infrastructure, the TMX pipeline, we have CN Rail, we have Highway 16, and we also have a lot of community critical infrastructure, including the high pressure ATCO gas pipeline that services the community and the ATCO electric transmission line that services the community, as well as all the other values and values at risk that we're working really hard to protect. This fire is the largest one that Jasper National Park has recorded in the last 100 years. It's larger than the 2003 wildfire, Syncline wildfire. And at this time, we're not expecting that it's going to be easy to change the status from out of control to being held, but that's what we're working on a prioritized basis. And we're not working alone, and we haven't been working alone from the very beginning. We always rely on our partners, just like our partners rely on us. We've been working with the municipality since the beginning to help prepare, to help practice, to help organize, to be able to smoothly work together to ultimately keep people safe and to do our best to try and keep as much of the town and as much of all that infrastructure safe and secure. The conditions were extreme, and leading into those fires, which started as 3 large wildfires south of the community that very quickly grew into 1, as well as the fire that was north of the community, we made significant steps to ensure public safety. And that was why we were able to quickly act on the evacuation, something that we'd practiced with the municipality, with the Alberta Emergency Management Agency, with the RCMP, and with our Alberta wildfire partners who engage in these scenarios and practices as well. It made a really big difference to have that kind of coordination and cooperation already in place in order to be successful and get that many people out. It's unusual for a small community of only 5,000 to have to move that many people, but we're really, really proud of getting that many people to safety. Currently, we're going to be working on this wildfire, we expect, over the next 3 months at least. What the last 5 years has taught us is that the fire season in Jasper tends to last well into the fall, just like the last time we had a large wildfire in 2022. So we're gearing up for a long struggle with making sure that we return everything to as good a condition so that the forest, which will naturally recover and always does, is going to look after itself in a lot of areas, but making it so that it's that special place that everybody wants to come back to, that's something we're focused on as well. We've been overwhelmed by the incredible love and support that has poured in from literally around the globe. Even at a time when there's probably a lot more distracting headlines, we continue to get that. It makes a huge difference to all the people on this incident. It helps sustain us because there's a lot of challenges. And boy, it's been something to see just how selfless and committed everyone has been. And we understand and appreciate everybody wants to help and do more. So thank you to all the folks that have been. Thank you to all the different partners, our interprovincial partners, and know that yes, we are marshaling all available resources to help in different ways, and we just got to make sure that we do it in a very safe fashion. So we do thank Alberta Wildfire, we do thank the Canadian Armed Forces, we do thank the people of Hinton for graciously accepting this huge influx of all of us working to secure things in Jasper, and all of the people from those communities that are accepting people from Jasper, Valemont through to Calgary, Edmonton, Kamloops, Prince George. Really feels like a country that is behind us, and that means a lot, and it's going to help us get through this and come out the other side. Thanks.
So now we can take questions. I can just moderate if, I don't know, what works best approach. You just stick up your hand, we can call on you one by one.
Question for Christine. Just to clarify, so we heard 358 structures destroyed yesterday. Do you have a number how many that were damaged and not destroyed?
I do not have that information currently, but I can say that most structures were destroyed and very few were damaged. Again, from the preliminary assessment, from the street observations, we have not had a chance to have thorough assessments done or get into any of those properties. As you will appreciate, the wildfire was 2 days ago. Securing the site, enabling access for our first responders, and keeping everyone safe has been a priority. And what I can say is that the number of residents affected, the proportion of our residential population affected, is much greater than the number of structures affected. And we do not have those details available just yet. We are working on that information. And yeah, that's all I have.
To clarify too, we've received information today from Parks Canada of the municipality. There are still hot spots within the town that hope to be extinguished by the end of the day, but there's still a fire at the perimeter. Could you just clarify the status of those?
So the municipality and our partners are looking after the structural firefighting within the town, and I will let Landon speak to the status of the wildfire in the immediate vicinity.
Can I just pick up on the question she asked? You said that the majority of people have been impacted somehow, residents. Can you just elaborate a little more on that? I mean,
Jamie, can we just answer the first question and then we'll... So yeah, status of wildfire, Landon.
Yeah, so status of the wildfire, there is still wildfire active hotspots near the community and just north of the community that we're actively suppressing, as well as around critical infrastructure. But like we mentioned, fire activity has been suppressed by getting a little bit of precipitation, and we're just starting to see fire activity pick up. Starting today, we expect over the next couple days, things are going to recover back a little bit more towards where they were for the last couple of weeks, but not the same extreme conditions that we had on the day of impingement.
Can you describe how the landscape has changed within the national park? You know, I mean, it's pretty famous. People have these visions in their memories. How is it going to look different, or will it look different when they return?
Yeah, so Jasper National Park has always been a fire-shaped landscape, mostly from indigenous ignition over time immemorial. And we certainly have always seen that lightning was a part of that shaping of a mosaic of vegetation types across the landscape. And you know, more recently, especially because of the suppression of indigenous ignition over the last century, as well as a policy of wanting to suppress fires because they can be really consequential like this, it means we don't have that landscape mosaic to break things up. So we had much more fuel continuity than would have existed 100 years ago, similar to a lot of other landscapes in areas that haven't been shaped by fire recently. And then also, thanks to climate change, having mountain pine beetle not be suppressed as it moved across the landscape and into Alberta, that beetle definitely shaped the fuel structure and made the possibility of a change from what you might have historically seen much more likely. So
are the hillsides barren in some places now? Was this the type of fire, a crown fire, that just wiped things out?
So this was a crown fire, which is something that does frequently occur on these landscapes, as it does across all forested landscapes across the continent. And it certainly was a very, very intense wildfire that happened under severe dry conditions. So yeah, the landscape will be significantly changed by that level of fire behavior given the conditions we had.
One thing I forgot to mention, sorry, we have until about 10 after 4. It's just we have about until 10 after 4, so it's about another 20 minutes for questions. So if you can just keep we'll just keep it to one question for each outlet. I know there's a lot of folks here. I know there's a lot of people who want answers. If there's follow-ups, I'm happy to provide written information, but Christine and Landon can only stay until 10 after 4, so we'll take another question.
In relation to the maps and stuff for the residents, Premier Daniel Smith brought up the idea that people could ideally maybe get into a bus and go see the community. Is that something that Parks Canada is thinking of doing? And if you can answer in French, I don't know if you speak French.
I do.
Okay, well then please.
English first, then French?
Yeah, please.
Yes, so we are not in a position to allow residents back into the townsite at this time based on the conditions I described earlier. That is something we are planning for, so access for residents in a structured way where we would likely use buses to get them in and at specific times and in specific areas, and for residents to go have a look at their house or where they lived. And that is a plan that we're working on and we will have available as soon as we can. Oui, on a un plan pour que les résidents puissent retourner à Jasper et aller voir leur propriété. Et ça va se faire d'une manière coordonnée. Les gens vont avoir une invitation. Ça va être par région géographique, par les blocs de rue. Et on essaie d'organiser ça pour que les gens puissent aller voir puis faire un peu un deuil en relation avec ce qui vient de se passer à Jasper.
I just wanted to add, in terms of the safety and exposure to the community, that wildfire just north of the community. Sorry, I know you've been cut off twice now. The wildfire north of the community is still a threat to the community, and we haven't secured that yet. So that also makes conditions unsafe for coming back in.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay. You said there's a lot of homes destroyed, but majority are damaged. Can you describe what that is? Self-siding?
That is not what I said.
Okay. Can you just specify what?
Yes, so the number of structures damaged, the residential population that is affected is much greater than the number of structures damaged tends to demonstrate, as in an apartment building is one structure, a single house is one structure. So we have a handle on the number of structures that are destroyed. Most of them are destroyed, not damaged from our initial assessment. We're looking at foundations. And like I said, we are working on numbers to determine how much of our population is affected, reflects a much greater number than the number of structures that are affected. Therefore, a good majority of our residents are affected, and I would say even those who still have homes are deeply affected and grieving our community, but also banding together, residents getting together, helping each other, supporting each other. There is a community to go back to, and we will support each other and get through this and return to our town when it is safe to do so. There is a wildfire active on the landscape. There are chemical hazards in town due to the number of structures burnt, so we do not have a timeline for residents to go look at their properties or anything like that. And we are working on planning, and we will release information as we have it, but it is very situation dependent based on the wildfire situation.
Just the damage that I'm talking about, obviously, we know that there's lots destroyed, but there's damage as well.
We are still completing. We're still completing damage assessment on structures. As conditions become safer, that will be one of our priorities, to get the experts and engineers in there to assess the status of those structures. What I can tell you is that structures are mostly destroyed or unaffected. Very few fall under the category of damaged.
Landon, you spoke about mosaic, the landscape mosaic, and it not being broken up. What does that mean? Can you explain it to those of us who don't know forestry terms, please?
I hope so, and my apologies, folks, that I keep using up most of the time with my long answers. A forest mosaic just means a mix of ages and species types, and that means a mix of flammability of those different fuels, those different forest ages. For instance, younger forest tends to be less flammable, tends to hold moisture better, and by having that change on the landscape, you tend to have fire held up in a lot more places, and it's not able to carry through as easily. That said, when things get really extreme, like we've seen in 2023, like we're seeing this summer, usually all fuels are available, and that's the kind of conditions that we were facing this past week. So.
You mentioned health supports, and I'm wondering if there's been an increase of counselors available at the evacuation sites to help people get through this day.
Yes, we have a number of resources activated, and they will be listed on our website and consistently promoted and pushed through our social media and website presence. I do not have a full listing of them currently. Certainly, my understanding is we are still getting a grasp on the numbers of people in reception centers, but certainly from local knowledge and our residents, a lot of our residents are not actually at reception centers. They are here in Hinton, they are in Valemount, they are in the surrounding area. Our international visitor population would have needed to move on and get to their destinations, so reception centers were a landing place for them to go to, and then they would have likely moved on to wherever their travels were taking them initially. And certainly for our first responders, those mental health supports are very important. The fire coming into the community was quite the event, and we will need to make sure we look after our people, and that is life and safety is our first priority, and supporting those who are part of the response is definitely up there with that.
Can I ask you a personal question? This is your community.
Yes.
I presume you were there for the fire.
Yes.
As it came through, and I'm sure that was impressive as well. But now that you look at the damage and what's left behind, is there anything that strikes you? Anything that personally got you?
My day role is Director of Protective Services. I'm responsible for the fire department. I am extremely proud of the work that our firefighters and the dedication and the efforts that went towards saving our town. And the entire Alberta firefighting community came to us and helped us, and we had all of the possible resources we could have needed to address that fire. I was personally upstairs at our fire hall, listening to the radio traffic, monitoring maps, trying to keep track of people, trying to see what was happening in the town during the fire, and it was a big event. It was as challenging as the conditions could get, and like I said, I am extremely proud of our firefighters and the valiant efforts that were put forth, and one of our priorities as a municipality currently is ensure that we do right by those people and we support them and we take care of them in the aftermath. There were firefighters on scene throughout. From the moment we issued the evac alert to this day, there are firefighters in our town, whether they be our firefighters or mutual aid firefighters from the rest of Alberta. And like I said, I couldn't be more proud of what our team has accomplished.
Was it scary when that fire came through? I mean, I know you do this for a living, but...
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, and I think that's where the community's at. To watch things go up in flames, obviously, is not an easy sight, and we do this for a living. There's a reason the public was not there when it happened, obviously. It's heartbreaking is what it is. Some of those structures we will rebuild, but we're looking at, some historical buildings, people's homes, personal belongings. I lost my home. A vast proportion of our community is affected, and I would say our entire community is affected, whether you have a home standing or not. Survivor's guilt is a thing. Why is my house here and yours isn't? And like I said, the community is really strong and resilient. It's tough times. It's really tough times. But there's already tons of offers. I have a place to go when I go back to Jasper. I've been offered a suite. Someone has a house, and they reached out to me and they said, come live with us. That's what we're doing, right? So I expect we'll see a lot of that from Jasperites, and they are banding together currently in Valemount and Hinton, and people are getting together, and no one should be going through this alone. And that starts with your friends and family, but also with those mental health supports that we'll need to continue providing. This is a long battle. We're not through this.
Do you have enough accommodation for the firefighters? I know there's a lot that are coming in.
Yeah, so logistics is always the most difficult part, and sometimes that gets forgotten because we focus on just throwing firefighters at the problem, but they all need to eat and sleep, and yeah, so logistics is big. We're making a bunch of different options available so that we are going to be able to look after everyone. And you know, this incident, it certainly has a lot of personnel, but it's not the biggest incident that's occurred in Canada. It's just, yeah, it's obviously resonated with everyone, and like I said, we really appreciate that, and we know we're quite privileged to get this level of support and attention, and we really feel for those firefighters up in northern communities who've been battling like this and feeling this level of stress for months on end. They often get not quite as much attention because people haven't gotten to see how beautiful those areas are and how special those areas are too. But boy, we you know, we've just been grateful that we have gotten the support we have, because yeah, we have been able to use it, and trust us, we are grateful.
Jasper so much depends on seasonal workers who aren't permanent residents. Can you give us an idea of whether accommodations that those people tend to live in are still there, and how you will navigate? I mean, some people you had said can go to Hinton or Edmonton, but there's also just a whole bunch of people spread out. How do you manage that now? And are those seasonal accommodations still?
A lot of the seasonal staff in Jasper are provided with staff accommodation from their employer, generally speaking. That is part of owning a business in Jasper. You need to house your staff while they're there for high season. There were some residential areas affected that had some apartment buildings. However, I don't have detailed information on this, but what I can say is that some of the commercial sector that have staff accommodation units that are attached to their property are on the north end of town, and that is an area that was less affected by the fire. And other than that, that's about the level of detail I can give you. But certainly those seasonal staff are part of our community, are considered residents, and would have been getting some supports from their employers. So that's part of the employer's responsibility, is to make sure that their staff land in a reasonable place during this evacuation, and I do know that that's happening for certain businesses. I don't have the detail on all of them, but certainly I think we have responsible employers that are taking care of their staff at this time.
And sorry, we're just gonna have to wrap up 1 second early, so we'll take one last question, and then I've got to get our incident commanders back. I think there was one actually in the back from City TV.
Yeah, if you guys could just break down the complexity of the situation, because you mentioned you have a bunch of hazardous chemicals down there, you're still trying to secure a perimeter, and I believe that there are crews trying to retrieve some of the animals that got left behind. So just kind of break down how complicated it is.
Yeah, sure.
You are correct that this is a complex situation, and you're seeing me and Landon up here because we have planned for this for a long time. We work together, we exercise together to make sure that those intricacies and complexities can be addressed appropriately. There are significant hazards in the townsite currently. We are keeping very close track of the staff that are working on the response and getting in and out of the townsite. No one is staying in Jasper currently. Everyone is commuting in and out of Hinton for the most part. And you are correct that some of our municipal staff have been engaged in operations to go retrieve pets. So some residents evacuated and left their pets behind. There is information on our website and social media on who to contact if you're in that situation and need someone to go retrieve your pets. But yes, our bylaw enforcement service is looking at that. And our multi-jurisdictional environment, so we are a municipality within a national park in the province of Alberta, which make things more complex to manage, but which also gives us access to a lot of resources, and that's what we've seen on this incident so far. Interagency collaboration has been very strong, very coordinated. Canada Task Force 2 is at the table to help us manage the amount of resources and the complexity of this incident, but it all starts with strong relationships initially in Jasper, and I am happy to say that Landon and I and other parks and municipal staff have been working together for a long time, and we were prepared for this, and this is part of why we managed to save all our critical infrastructure, have essential services still in place, and we hope the recovery will be easier on the basis of those successes.
On our website. Yeah, both of the municipalities' websites.